Okay guys, we're going to create a custom mesh for the use in Red Faction. We're going to use version 5.1 of 3ds Max. This will also work in version 4.2 or whatever other version people use in the Stone Age. Okay, let's go. We're going to make a simple health pickup to override the current health pickup in Red Faction, the medical pack. Okay, we're going to create a cube. Once you've got a cube in there, let's set it to the proper size. I think 10 or 15 will be right. Let's go into edit poly mode. Turn on ignore back facing. Let's start selecting some polygons. Got our selection. Now let's do a simple extrude operation by polygon so it extrudes the proper way we want. Extrusion height to 15. And then hit OK. We got our simple model, just nothing more than a cross sign. Now we gotta grab our material. Okay, with this material selected, we go to and grab a multi-sub-object material. We're only using one material, so we're going to get rid of all these other ones. Let's grab a bitmap, and this is our health texture that we're going to be using. You want to see this in the viewport, so we hit this button right here, and this is the material right here. We're done right here. That's all we need to do for now. We need to go into element mode, or polygon or element, doesn't really matter, as long as we grab the polygons needed that we want to change the ID for, and we assign those to material ID number 1, and that should properly project the texture when we put it on there. Let's go back to the material editor. See right here, this is material ID number 1. As we went back here, you can see that this is also material ID number 1. So all these polygons, which I have all of them selected on the entire mesh, will display polygon or display texture ID number 1. This is it right here. So as soon as we hit this apply button to the object, we got our texture. You can see it's all entirely red right now. That's not what we want. That's because the texture projection is placed improperly on the mesh. So we're going to grab a UWV map. There we go. Now we can see our texture popping out a bit, but the texture projection is still wrong. We need to fix that. So we change that, and then we fit it. So now we got the texture projection on properly the way we want. Let's do a collapse all. In the event that you would want to use more than one material ID on your mesh, which would be a lot, or more than this tutorial has to offer, what you would want to do is select the required polygons that you want to display the second material. So say for instance we want these polygons to display material 2. We would select these polygons, and then we would create a new material, and then we would come down here and set the ID to number 2. As you can see, these polygons I selected and set their ID to 2 accurately represent this right here. But that's not what we want, so we're going to set every polygon back to 1. Get rid of this because we don't want any stray materials. That's it for the material editor. Okay. Now, as a rule of thumb, before we bring anything in the Red Faction, we need to reset its X form. That's this bounding box. It'll happen if you create more advanced meshes, and then the bounding box might have gotten twisted around or whatever. We need to fix that, and then we collapse all. Also, we need to reset the pivot point to the center of the object and align it to the world. Once that's done, we need to move the object to the center of the world. This goes for any mesh created with bones or without bones, depending on what you need from it. If this was created right here in multiplayer, if this were to spin, it would spin around off this axis. So, for instance, if this gizmo, if this was multiplayer and the mesh was placed right here with the pivot point and all, it would rotate around like this. We don't want that. So this is the reason why we set the pivot point. We set the center of the object and remove the pivot point to the center of the world, so that way in multiplayer we get it spinning properly the way we want. And that should be it for the mesh for now. So let's go and export. We need to select the object, otherwise it will not export properly. Okay, and take note when you export meshes from 3ds Max, Redfaction meshes obviously, we cannot export it to any directories that have spaces in its file, spaces in its name. Right here, this would be a bad place to export. Documents and settings, it has a space right here and a space right here. That will not work. It will give you an error every time. Program files will also not work. We could export directly to the Redfaction directory. This will work. There's no spaces here, no spaces here. You can go right here. This is where we want to be. Let's create a test health, and that's, make sure we pick the Redfaction mesh plugin. Want to save. No log file unless you really want some useless information on notepad file. And I think that's it. We're done in 3ds Max for now.